Hello, this is Steve from Bedo's Leatherworks. Today's project is this Louis Vuitton cosmetic case, or train case I believe it is called. Now we're going to basically redo the whole interior, replace the side strap posts, these pieces here, make a new strap, and just kind of generally cleaning up. It's not in bad shape overall, it's just that the leather has seen its days and everything is just falling apart. Now this is going to be kind of tricky to do because these leather pieces are stitched on to the fabric before they're stretched over the wood frame. So we have to disassemble that and then replace these two pieces on each side, stitch it onto the fabric first, and then reassemble it back. Now there's a couple of issues that you've got the Louboutin rivets right here that are attached to the sides. Now these rivets, when they get hammered in, they mushroom on the inside and then they hold the piece together. Well, most of the time when you're taking that apart, that breaks, to come off. If it breaks, you can't reuse it again. So I'm going to try to reuse that, salvage it, so the end result, it'll look like the original rivet. So I'll see if I can save it or not. Other than that, it should go pretty smoothly. We'll see what happens once we start taking it apart. All right, let's get started. So basically we're going to start with removing that front lock there and trying to take the back piece off so we can have access to the side piece. Keep our fingers crossed that everything is going to go smoothly. This is a nice piece. It's not in bad shape. It's been used, obviously. Like most things that get sent in, it's they're used. They don't sit on a shelf and collecting dust. I mean, there's nothing wrong with saving something that's, in this type of a bag to keep its value, but most people buy this kind of stuff to use it, and some abuse it. That's okay. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to speed up this process a little bit because we'll be sitting here all day watching me take this thing apart at a regular pace. So let's speed up the process a little bit so we're not here for 2 days taking this thing apart. All right, let's continue. Wow, that was a chore to take that hinge off there. I had to cut it, unfortunately, but I'll replace it. I didn't want to replace it, but sometimes you have no choice. It just would not come off the wood frame there. And as I was peeling it back, and it started to tear, I used a little bit of turpentine, which kind of releases the glue that you can peel it off easy. That didn't even budge. So we're going to continue to disassemble. See if I can salvage this rivet right here. I think we have good news. It's still in good shape. Whenever I'm redoing these types of bags, I try to keep everything as original as possible. because it's got the insignia on there, the Louboutin insignia on there. You want to keep it the same, as similar as possible. I mean, look, at this stage, it's going to lose its originality, which is fine with the customer. I think they just want to use it. Again, this is not a showpiece where you know, it sits on the shelf that it's going to keep its original value. So basically, it's going to get used. I have a lot of comments on Louis Vuitton restorations where, well, people are concerned about that, you know, about the originality and stuff. And again, to each is to own. You know, I'm not a licensed Louis Vuitton restorer, whatever you want to call me. I restore bags and customers are happy and they use it. That's the bottom line. It'd be kind of cool to be a Louis Vuitton, authentic Louis Vuitton repair center, wouldn't it? Anyway, so that's the bottom piece, as you can see. That's the inside piece. And that's the bottom piece right there. A little bit later, I'll show you what kind of material we're going to use. All right, let's continue. All right, so we've got majority of the case apart. The frame seems to be in pretty good shape, so there's no need to reinforce it, re-glue it, or anything like that. Now this came off pretty easily, not too bad. So now we get to remake the side straps, then we'll put it back together. So once it's back together, you won't really tell that it was taken apart. Everything else seems to be in pretty good shape. The material's not bad. I'm going to clean this up before I put it on there because usually it turns white. I don't know if you could tell. Got a little milky white on there because that surface coating, when that is flexed like this, it appears to be a little bit lighter color. So once we clean that surface, add a little bit of maybe can't really condition it. I mean, it's like a vinyl coating on the surface. So, but I'll figure put something on there to make it look a little better. All right, let's continue. Now, most of the time when I'm restoring these bags, we try to, with the new leather here, we try to tint it down to match that old antique look. But since we're basically replacing all the leather trim on it, okay, we're going to leave a natural color, which is this right here. Since it doesn't need to be, you know, matching to the old pieces, we can make it natural looking like it when it was new, basically. Now this is 3 to 3.5 ounce belting leather. Okay. No, this is not direct from Louis Vuitton. Is Louis Vuitton leather better? Yes, it is. I think if, for example, you see these marks on the hide, these little marks you're looking at right here. Well, you know, when Louis Vuitton takes great care in getting their leathers with no scars on it, no tick marks or no, you know, imperfections, even though it's natural product, they go to great lengths to raise their cattles, maybe not their cattles, or wherever they get their leathers from, to make sure that the hides are in very clean, very nice shape. Now what we're going to do here, we're going to kind of look around, make sure that there's no scars on the leather that I'm using to make the straps and make the pieces. Of course, I work around those imperfections that I get with this hide. But this is a pretty good leather. It's very close to it, to what Louis Vuitton would have used. Yes, so I would say a little of a grade lesser than Louis Vuitton, but nevertheless, it's still good leather. All right, let's continue. Now, with every video I make, of course, there are people who can do it better, who can do it differently, and you know, after the project gets done and I upload the video, there's going to be some people say, oh, that's not how it's done, or you should have done it this way. It's not the same thing. You know, I know that. There's lots of ways of doing things. If you could do it better, more power to you. This is how I know how to do it, and you know, it works out pretty good. But I'm sure there are other ways of doing things. I'm going to try to make this this back strap, this long strap basically is in one piece, it looks like, right? I don't see any pieces, connecting pieces in the back. And the second piece right here, obviously it's another piece. So I straighten out the hide to get this one piece length out of it. I do a lot of projects, and sometimes, you know, if I have to make long pieces, like a belt or something, usually straightened out one side of the hide to get that long piece as long as possible. Now what I'll do is I'll cut the two pieces like this a little bit wide. Okay, let's say the strap is an inch, I'll make it 1.5 inches, and I'll put a nylon piece on the inside. Okay, glue it all together, cut it, and then cut the other end and then stitch it. This way, if I have it glued together, I cut it same time, it's a much nicer edge on it. Sometimes I'll cut it exact and glue it together, but I think this way it's a little bit easier for me to get that nice straight edge on there. So now this is, let's see, this is about 7/8 wide, a little less than 1 inch. I'll cut it about 1.5 inches, and then we'll trim the edges once we glue it together. All right, let's continue. So whenever I have to stitch Louis Vuitton straps, or any other straps for that matter, the stitch length is very important. Okay, basically I take the old piece and I stitch it, make sure that I got the stitch length exactly what it's supposed to be, and this way you're duplicating the same size as what you took apart. Now, you always plan it anyway like that, but does it work out? Sometimes it doesn't, but most of the time it's pretty good. So we're going to try to stitch this side piece right here and see how it goes. If it screws up, we'll just replace it, no big deal. Take that over there. Okay, not too bad. The tension is a little bit off. Like right here, if you look at it, I don't know if you can see it or not. The bottom thread is not tight. The bobbin thread is not tight enough where it's pulling it down. But I'll fix that. But it's not bad. I think it turned out pretty good. Alright, let's continue. Alright, now we're going to stitch the strap. Now the strap doesn't get stitched all the way around. Basically it's going to be stitched about from here, this point, to this point, because we still have to add the center piece right on top of it. Make sure the tension is good before we continue. And that's it. It's coming along, slowly but surely. Let's continue. Now on some of the strappings, I put a piece of nylon. Let's see if I can grab it real quick. It's a piece of nylon right here to reinforce that stress on the D-ring so it doesn't break again like the original did. Also in the shoulder strap, again I put a thin piece of nylon. Thin piece of nylon right in between it, sandwich in between it to give it that structural support. Alright, let's continue. So this tool is a creaser. Basically it just adds a little line. Let me see if you can see it. You see that line right on the bottom here? Let me see if I can do the top to show you. Let me continue that. Now most of the time these creasers are hot. To give it a nice, I can't really tell with this light. It's just a little thin line right next to the stitch. That's how the original ones are done. But now I don't warm this tool because I'm afraid that I might get the temperature wrong and then burn the leather, because it's a very light color leather and the heat will definitely darken it up. I think this is good enough. I just press on it and gives it a nice line detail. If you guys can see that or not. Not sure if it's visible in the camera, but it's there. If you look carefully on the original ones, I mean, you got to really look at it to see it, but it's there, same way. All right, let's continue. All right, so at this stage, I stitched and glued the main piece to the body of the box, and I let this sit overnight. And And then we're going to glue this top piece here. We're going to heat that up, and we're going to kind of mold it back to wherever it was. Especially around the corners, we got to soften that up a little bit. So it's trying to get rid of the wrinkles. And we've got to kind of press down right on these points right here, so the top fits in there pretty comfortably. Sometimes it's easy to pull this over and have that too high, and then when the top comes in, it doesn't sit comfortably. So you got to kind of push that right in its place, so it'll look real nice and crisp. So we've got we made the strap. Okay. That's ready and done. Side pieces is done. Now I'm going to start working on the interior pieces. I'm going to let this sit for a little bit more. Now we can start working on the interior. Now this material here, this is not leather. We opted not to do suede. This is being a little more friendly to use than suede is. Now this is some sort of a fabric, okay? It almost feels like a suede texture in the back, but it is not leather. So we're gonna go ahead and start cutting this up and put the interior back together. All right, let's continue. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, we're gonna take the rivets, take a 000 steel wool, just kind of, not too much, just a little bit to take that tarnishing off. You don't want to make it look like brand new, but better than what it was. So we salvaged the rivets. I was so excited about that. I get to put it back on exactly how it was. These are called Jiffy Rivets again. Once they get hammered in, and you almost have to break them off to take them off. But I got very lucky. Sometimes it works. Now we're just going to straighten that out a little bit, so we're going to reuse it. It's not bad. We can use it again. Cool. Make sure the wording is proper. I don't know if there's a right or a wrong way, because basically the Louis Vuitton emblem is all the way around in the circle, so we'll just leave it like that. Cool. The little things in life make me happy. Well, you know, when I'm happy, the customer's going to be happy also. So I like that part also. All right, let's continue. Now this piece here, again, we're going to have a little bit of a challenge salvaging the snaps. These are the same situation as the side rivets. Once they get hammered together, to take them apart, you're going to have to damage them. But I'm going to have to try to salvage that, because I don't want to replace it with an ordinary snaps, which I have plenty of. But I'd like to keep that piece as original as I can. So we're going to try to salvage that. I don't know how, but oh, excuse me, still early here. We'll figure something out. It's funny, this material here, when it starts getting old, it starts disintegrating and it gets sticky. It sticks to everything. Alright, I'm going to continue off camera trying to salvage these rivets. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so it's coming along fine. Remember that hinge I had to tear off to remove it? That's the replacement piece. Basically, you kind of get an idea of how far you want the lid to lean back. You don't want it to be too forward because it won't stay open, and you don't want it to be too far back, you know. So this way it's just about right. Now the second piece will go on to reinforce that piece that I put in there. The second piece is this yellow piece right here. I think I'm going to adjust this a little bit. The glue's still a little wet. I can peel it back and bring that top forward just a little bit. There we go. This is better this way, I think. So the positioning of the top is kind of important, right? Because you've got the mirror right there. So when the lady's sitting down to do her makeup, you know, you want that to be right there, eye level. So it's kind of important to have it at the right angle. Right? It's a minor detail, but it's an important detail. Perfect. All right. Now we get to assemble the lining. This one's done here. I covered that and I made that new piece there. It's basically simple gluing it back in there. Just want to make sure that everything fits in there good. Kind of test fit it. Now, it's the same pieces that I took out, right? Basically, I reused the stiffener, the old ones, okay, because they're in great shape. There's nothing wrong with them. So whenever I can reuse it, I will. Now this particular one is the same one also, but just in case, you never know. I just want to make sure that it's got a good fit in there before I start gluing everything back together. And it looks like it's not bad. It's a little bit cockeyed. I'll move that around a little bit. There we go. I'm looking at the strap positioning there, that piece. Make sure that's in the center. You've got enough, you know, even gaps on both sides of the piece there. So it looks like it's pretty good right now. So what I'll do, I'll put a small mark on there. Oh, I couldn't find my apron. I'm wearing this and I'm reaching for my marker, which I don't have in this apron. I swear every time I take my apron off, I always say, well, I'm going to put it somewhere where I can find it next day. Sure enough, I can't find it the next day. And there's a designated spot that I normally put my stuff at, and I never do. So I just grabbed this one, which doesn't have my markers inside. Anyway, minor details in life, it's okay. When I'm looking for something else, I'll find an apron. That's how it usually works. Alright, so we're going to speed it up a little bit, okay? Alright, let's continue. So I guess I should have waited a little bit longer to position that, because you see it tilted all the way back. Well, the glue was still wet. I should have waited a little bit longer. Anyway, we're going to peel this back. See, it's still wet. We're going to let this dry. Okay. And then we're going to glue it, make sure that it stays in that position. Alright, well, I'm glad it happened now, not after everything was assembled. Then I would have had to take everything apart. Alright, let's continue. Okay, we're going to try to reuse those snaps now. These are called spring snaps, because there's little springs. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that or not. There's two little springs in there that when the male piece goes in, it snaps right on top of it. But the issue is that this male on the top part, again, once it gets hammered down, it's not easy to bring it back. So we're going to try. Be a little tough. Little details like this are most time-consuming things. Not just time-consuming, just frustrating, because sometimes you want it to work, but it's just not possible. And you put the time into it to make it possible. And sometimes you succeed. Sometimes, not all the time. I've got plenty of snaps like this. Brand new. Same size, same color. It just doesn't say LV on there. I'm going to get this thing right. I'm going to get it. Let me do it off camera. Maybe I'll have better luck. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so we're almost done. I still have to go through a little bit of the cleaning here and there. And I think everything else is looking pretty good. Now this was $1,000 restoration. And I try to salvage all the rivets as much as I could. Now I salvaged the top part of the strap, but not the one underneath. Not these right here. These are, I put these in here. Now I spoke to the customer about this beforehand, let him know that, you know what, there's a chance that I might not be able to use it, and he was fine with that. So I made sure that it was okay with him. So now I did a little bit of research on this bag. It looks like there was a small pouch that would snap right here. Okay, so I'm going to make that for the customer, but he doesn't know about it yet. So it's a little surprise for him, I guess. And I think that'll kind of finish the project. Now, if you guys, some of you guys are concerned about my shaking, I've been shaking since I was 10 years old, so it hasn't come from the business. You know, sometimes it comes from caffeine, sometimes it comes from a little stressed, overworked, but I can assure you I'm okay. But I appreciate you guys' concern. All right, let's continue. All right, welcome back. So we're done with another project. I think it turned out pretty good. There's that little pouch I was telling you guys about. It just snaps in and out. I think the customer will be a little happy, surprised. So I appreciate you guys joining me today on this project. So anytime you guys have a question, try to ask me in an email form, because problem is when you put in a comment, I don't see it sometimes, and I don't want to ignore your if you have any questions. So once you're on my page, on my main page, my YouTube, just go to about right there. Where's about? It'll have all my information there. My email, my phone number, my address, everything you want to know. So any questions you have in regards to the job, just email me and I'll see what I can do for you as far as answering it and see what we can come up for and some options. Well, again, thank you very much for joining me, and share and comment as much as you like, and we'll see you again on the next one. Take care.